Now, I don't know if it's a bad hire. I don't know if it's possible for the Chiefs to get back. You're looking at a 30-year-old Mahomes versus 25 when he came into the league, 24. You're looking at a 37-year-old Travis Kelce if he comes back. No Tyreek Hill. You're struggling with the run game. You're struggling with wide receiver weapons. You're not sure about your wide receiver one, if he's even going to be in the league or on the team in the future. I mean, there's a lot of question marks going around as far as the offense, as far as what's going to happen. Now, to the credit of Eric Bieniemy, I think he does bring another level that Matt Nagy didn't have. And I don't think Andy Reid has it very well, and it's the accountability. I do agree that that is important. I think that when you have your best tight end of all time on your team, your best your Patrick Mahomes quarterback is giving praise for Eric Bieniemy coming in, it shows the respect. It shows how much they really care, and they understand that maybe they did come off the path a little bit and they need to be locked back in. So there is, to that certain extent, I agree. I think there is a level of the accountability is important. I agree. I just don't know if it's important enough not to go try to hire somebody else outside of Andy Reid's tree or somebody that you're comfortable with. Again, we're talking about NFL players. And if you're needing someone to hold you accountable, now I get rookies, younger guys, but if you need a guy that to hold you accountable, then you might not be the right guy for the team. I mean, it's that simple. I want to mention Eric Bieniemy's kind of stops from when he was, trying to get a head coaching job and didn't get it, to coming back to the Chiefs. When he left Kansas City in 2022, he was circulating out and trying to get a head coaching job, and it just wasn't available. It just, nobody was biting, and people didn't really think he could do it. A lot of people, puts different narratives to it and whatnot, but at the end of the day, he didn't get a head coaching job. So here's what happened and where he went when he left the Chiefs. In 2023, he went to the Washington Commanders as an assistant head coach and the offensive coordinator. So he took a lateral move to go from Kansas City to the Washington Commanders. And the Chiefs, or the Commanders, averaged 19.4 points per game that season. That was when Ron Rivera was the head coach. Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator. And it was just kind of the Commanders decided to clear house. They wanted to go a different direction, and they fired everybody. So I don't know if I can blame Eric Bieniemy for not lasting as the Commanders coach, but to his resume, he was fired from the offensive coordinator position with the Commanders. So 2024, he goes and signs a 2-year deal to be the associate head coach and offensive coordinator for the UCLA Bruins. So he takes a step down and goes to the college level. And again, they weren't the greatest team. They ranked 126th nationally as far as points per game. And again, you can't blame him necessarily for the players and the skill level and things like that. But again, it's just another notch in his resume that he, took a step down and went to an offensive coordinator position in college. Signed that 2-year deal, decided to leave that, was done, I don't know if he got let go or if he just decided he was done. I think he might have got let go, and went to the Chicago Bears this past season as their running backs coach. So you went from trying to get a head coaching job to an offensive coordinator job with another team. You made a lateral move. Then you went to a college, made basically, in my eyes, a step down. And then you came back to the NFL as a running backs coach, which again, I would probably call that a lateral move, an OC in college to a running backs coach in the NFL. So over the last 3 years, his resume has just not been great. It's not like he's been succeeding in all these things and he went and had this awesome offense and all that. He's taken steps back basically since he left Kansas City. So that is the issue that I have with the Chiefs hiring Eric Bieniemy, and at least not trying. Again, in that presser that Andy Reid had this week, he mentioned that they went and interviewed some other guys or had conversations, whatever it was, but is not willing to say who they were. And so to me, what that shows is either they weren't real conversations, they were just they had to do it to get, check mark the box, or I think nobody really wanted to be the offensive coordinator in Kansas City because they're not calling the plays. There's no growth. There's no growth unless you're some young cat who then you can take over for Andy Reid going forward. And that's not something that I think Eric Bieniemy is going to do. He's getting close to 60s, if not in his 60s. And so the Chiefs hire Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator, but he's not going to take over as the head coach. Andy Reid's only got a few years left. Realistically, I mean, I think, his contract ends in 2029. Do I think he makes it to 2029? Maybe. But overall, I think it's, I just think it's not the move I would make. It's just not the move that I would have made as the Chiefs hiring an offensive coordinator. I don't think I would have stuck to my comfort level. I think this year was such a disappointment that you almost had to try and flip something new. And that brings me to kind of like what I'm scared of as far as the Chiefs this season. I'm scared that they are going to use that same logic of being comfortable. They're comfortable with their guys. They're comfortable with who they like, and they're going to do that when rebuilding this roster. When it comes to free agency, they're not going to make big splashes like a Breece Hall. They're not going to do a big draft like a Jeremiah Love or try to go and get Reuben Bain. They're going to play it easy and get guys that they're comfortable with, and that's what scares me. That's what scares me about this Chiefs team is the logic has always been it's a close-knit group. It's a family, Andy Reid tree. You got to have a relationship. And I think this team needs different guys that haven't been anywhere near the system. They've always went in the offseason and got guys that have gone. You've seen McCole Hardman come back. You've seen Derek Nottie. You've seen Mike Pennell. These guys, they're comfortable with their guys that they draft, that they have been in the locker room, that know the system. And I hope that they don't do the same thing the way they hired Eric Bieniemy and decided to keep him on and do the same thing in free agency and bring in guys that are particular, not people that I would bring in or not letting guys go, like re-signing Isaiah Pacheco or not cutting Drew Tranquil, things like that. Those are moves that would frustrate me because that team is not the organization is acting on guys that they're comfortable with, that they know, versus going out and getting a guy in free agency or letting a guy walk and being more comfortable with getting somebody new. So that is just kind of the big difference in the Eric Bieniemy versus Matt Nagy situation. That's just how I feel as far as, the Chiefs hiring Eric Bieniemy. Of course, I'm backing it now and hoping that I'm completely wrong. I'm hoping that the Chiefs do go back to the 2018, 2019 offense and Eric Bieniemy can really come in and make change. I think there are some good situations with Eric Bieniemy coming in, and we're going to transition to the Chiefs' other hire, the wide receiver coach, Chad O'Shea. I think Eric Bieniemy bringing Chad O'Shea with him was a big deal. And I think Eric Bieniemy having that, accountability skill set in being able to hold Rashee Rice accountable, being able to hold Xavier Worthy accountable, holding some of these younger guys that need it. I think that is key. I think that is key for building guys in the locker room. I think it's key for the growth of your guys that you've drafted, especially when Rashee Rice is going to be on a contract year after this coming up season, or you may even decide to re-sign him or whatnot. But so the Chiefs decide to bring in someone with O'Shea's experience. It's really that what I just talked about as far as going out of your comfort zone and the Chiefs just working through the tree. Chad O'Shea is not related to the Andy Reid tree, at least at all. Yes, Chad O'Shea did start his tenure with the Chiefs back in like 2003, as some assistant lower level coach, nothing crazy, but he's been in the league for a long time. And so the idea that there's, you're bringing in a veteran coach who's got 30 plus years of experience and you have a wide receiver room that hasn't developed, that is a big step for me. And that makes me excited about this wide receiver. So O'Shea brings nearly 3 decades of coaching experience, including a decade with the New England Patriots. And so that's something that came out when the Chiefs made this hire. There was a couple clips that were circulating in Chiefs Twitter and things like that. And it was talking about there's 2 big names that were kind of like giving the respect to Chad O'Shea and the Chiefs hiring him. And it was Rob Gronkowski, which is a huge deal. Then, of course, Julian Edelman. He was a wide receiver coach for the Patriots, and Julian Edelman had some nice things to say, but Gronk had something really good. And he said, this is quote from Rob Gronkowski, "I'm pumped about it. Chad O'Shea, I wouldn't say responsible for Randy Moss and Wes Welker's career, but I would say he's responsible for Julian Edelman's career in the New England. That's for sure." And so that's huge. I mean, that is a big deal coming from obviously one of the best tight ends of all time. And Julian Edelman was a very good receiver. So having that experience come in and being able to coach Rashee Rice, being able to coach Xavier Worthy, maybe you bring back Tyquan Thornton or Hollywood Brown and having them under Chad O'Shea as well. It's really awesome that they decided to go this route. And here's the quote from Julian Edelman. He said he'd have an individual 30 play cut in each corner, highlighted examples of their strengths and weaknesses. Fridays were dedicated to red zone, 2-minute drill, and situational football. So the idea that this guy is basically a football like fanatic, football freak, and he's going to level up our wide receiver room, it really makes me excited. One, for the wide receiver room, but two, it makes me excited that the Chiefs may not have to go spend a whole lot of money on getting a free agent or using pick number 9 in the draft to get a wide receiver, because you have some talent in the room as far as Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. I mean, those are talented guys. The problem is that they just haven't lived up to the talent that you expect. And that's the issue as far as the reason that Chad O'Shea is a big deal, at least in my eyes. I think he's a big deal. And so what does this mean for Kansas City? It means that the Chiefs' decision to bring in someone with O'Shea's experience, film study on these different things, it's just going to unlock more potential, I think, for a room that is lacking. And so I think the idea of having experience again and somebody outside of the tree is just a big deal. And I think it went under the rug a little bit. I really do think you're going to see a lot of improvement from guys like Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and some of those guys in that wide receiver room.